We all stand for the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Bender.
Here.
Trustee Cook. Here. Trustee Sellers.
Here.
Supervisor Sellers.
Here. Okay, we have quorum. All right. The first order of business is the approval of the minutes for September 17, 2018. I need a motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Bender, second by Sellers. Please take a look at the minutes. Are there any questions on the minutes? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
There's a page 202.
Motion carries. Okay. The next order of business is the approval of bills payable. Need a motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Sellers, second by Bender. Please take a look at the bills payable.
I have one question on the insurance.
Yes.
Is this insurance just for your office or is it also the township?
This is for the entire township.
Just township?
Yeah, just for both our offices.
For both of your
Yeah,
offices?
Both offices. yeah.
Okay.
I must have two papers.
You have
Two
two?
twos.
You have two of the same thing?
I got
Here, you
something,
have
I'm
this one right-
asking, why is something doubly paid?
Yeah.
Okay.
Here we have it right there.
I'm
Okay.
like, why is something being
Thank you.
doubly paid? What is another one, baby? I don't need that.
4 twos.
Yeah, there we go.
Thank you.
I was like, why is so many times the same person getting paid?
Right.
The PTAB, what is it?
Property Tax Appeal Board?
Oh, yeah. For Farm and Fleet?
Yeah, Farm and Fleet filed with Board of Review. Board of Review held the value, and then they filed with the Property Tax Appeal Board. And so the county ordered a appraisal, and all the different it was about $3,500 for the appraisal, and then all the different taxing districts chip
Yeah.
in.
This was like a while back.
Yes, we talked about it. It's just coming through now. And we might have another one for Super 8 when that comes through.
How, okay.
Are there any more questions on claims and demands? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Bender.
Aye.
Trustee Cook.
Yes.
Trustee Sellers. Supervisor Sellers.
Aye. Motion carries. The next order of business is the supervisor's report. I got a couple of things. The first thing I have is the client numbers for everyone, the client count. We have 26 active clients, 7 pending, and 0 terminated. That was until about 3:30 today, where we had terminated 5 people for not showing up to community work and training. So everything was going good until about 3:30. Then that happened. Okay?
Good.
Now, I took the liberty of inviting Mr. Craig Bentema from the Stevens County Health Department to speak with us today about the mosquito dilemma that we had going on until the weather got very, very cool. Thank goodness for that. So I'm going to have Mr. Bentema come up and join us and then speak.
Hi, Joy.
Hi, Craig, how are you?
Well, I felt better. That's why I'm standing pretty much away from everybody. You betcha. I'm gonna take those and just-
Thank you.
You want me to sit up here, or do you want to bring a chair up?
I think you gotta stand by the eggs.
You gotta stand by the X here.
By the X,
Yes.
okay.
Too bad it's by me, Craig.
That's all right.
No,
It's all right.
I got two.
That's okay, Joy, I know you don't like it. All right, what I wanted to tell you is that the Freeport Abatement District, Mosquito Abatement District, is separate from the city, separate from the health department. And the first page is just kind of telling you what the essential parts are. Well, we do 2 helicopter runs, which are in May and the end of June. And those are larviciding. They do a helicopter pretty much at night, and they pellet all the areas that have water that we've known about. And then we do truck treatments, which are anywhere from 3 to 5 a year, and they're roughly 14 to 15,000 each. And then what we also do is there's mosquito trapping from April to October, where we have monitor the mosquitoes each week. There's 2 times a week. And 300 is a nuisance level, and we've exceeded that a couple times. We had a more than wet May, June, and part of July, and then dry July, and part of August, and then we got hit with over Labor Day, and got hit. And that was what, we haven't had to do that kind of work in September for about 12, 13 years. And they refer to it as a super brood. And we have 4 traps in the area, one on Hancock, one on Great Park, Alamo, Bristol Avenue. And then we have a mosquito hotline that we utilize to monitor. And the next page, what I wanted to tell you is the best way to avoid mosquitoes around home is not raise them. It's just, excuse me. The ways to get rid of it is really get rid of the drainage areas. And those are just roadside ditches, they're your yards, but most importantly in the area is the places where there's abandoned houses, abandoned properties that have high weeds. And that's what harbors mosquitoes. And that's a big deal, and it's been a problem for many, many years. And you start falling into, well, whose problem is it? And that's what's hard. And it's not necessarily the abatement district to go and mow those. It's pretty much the city. And as far as water ponding, that's really the city. And I think that that's something that should be thought out. Now, one of the things that I wanted to show you was the last page. And it's a picture. Excuse me. I caught something yesterday and it just doesn't seem to go away. There's a yellow 8 to 10 foot line. Beneath that 8-foot line is where we have the preponderance of the floodwater nuisance mosquitoes. That's where they rest. That's where they're at. So spraying any higher than that won't do you any good. Won't do around your home and around areas that have a lot of grassy area. Above the line where it says Culex resting, that's another type of mosquito that carries West Nile virus. And just as a rule of thumb, 90% of all mosquitoes that are out there, and in this last several weeks, it's probably 95% are what we call nuisance mosquitoes. And so this year we've done 5 truck sprays, which is gone over budget. And what I Patrick and I have talked about is just different things that could be done. Is kind of a major push to get areas that have grass area, high weeds, tall grass, that stuff mowed. And also the two areas that are really subject to that is down on the east side, our Hancock Trap, basically from downtown this way, that has a higher, not always the higher trap counts, but higher amounts of water. And that's what causes the problem. It's standing water, it's not river water or anything like that that flows. It has to be standing water. And so that's kind of really mosquito 101 for all of you. I'm sure there's plenty more, but you don't have to be bored with all that. They travel 5 to 10 miles. They have a lifespan of about 3 weeks. Usually they go from larvae to adult in 7 to 10 days. If it gets above 85, you're closer to 5 to 7 days, and it really comes out in force. We usually have 2 peak times, July 3rd for some reason, and then again these at the first week of August. And so that's mosquito 101.
Are there any questions for Mr. Benjamin?
Well, the one thing is, so you said that treatments that are above 8 to 10 feet are ineffective
Well,
against these nuisance mosquitoes?
If the nuisance ones are beneath the 8 foot, if you were doing your yard, if you were doing your house, I'll say the trucks that go around go much higher than that, but they also go higher up and then sink. Because at that time, that's when mosquitoes are higher up in that. That's where they're resting. If you were going to do something at your own home, what I would suggest, and I assume that this is TV, so I can't say where I got it, but you can get hose attachment, mosquito spray, and you can spray your grass, you can spray the bushes, but you want to stay low, and you want to do that between 10 in the morning and say 2 o'clock in the afternoon, because it's too hot, mosquitoes aren't going to go out, they'll dehydrate, dry up, and so they stay in the bushes. I know that's more of an answer than what you were asking.
No, I appreciate the extra information. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
I read someplace that larvae that are in waterways or rivers actually can survive over the winter. Is that true?
If you get below 0, probably not.
Okay.
There are ones that are hardy, that the ones that are Culex, the West Nile, they are called tree hole. And even though it gets down to 0, you have a lot of these larvae inside trees, which it doesn't get down to 0 in there.
Okay. Thank you.
So I think really it's just looking at something that we can maybe work together on, something of getting people to mow these weeds or abandoned properties, because it just doesn't happen. It isn't the saving grace for everything, but it sure would make a whole lot of difference, especially down this direction. Make sure I'm pointing right. It would make a lot of difference.
In other words, the city should be more involved in this,
Yes. Yes.
to mow all these lots that they own.
Right. And just, if they own them or don't own them, then it's kind of, well, who does it? And then we
Yeah.
have the landlords that don't live around here, and getting it down to lower than 8 inches once every 2 months is kind of what they think.
Right.
But it's, I don't know how many of these lots are owned by the city, but probably a good portion of them are.
Quite a few, according to the for sale signs they had out about 2 months ago.
I believe you. I believe it. I believe it.
How would, like, the tall grass differ from someone who just has abundant gardening around? Like, how is,
It's more of a drainage. When you have high, tall weeds, it's kind of like a canopy to prevent water from evaporating out. In a garden, there isn't so much, you don't have a dense population of grasses and weeds. It's not covering it. Whereas a garden, I kind of picture rows.
yeah. Well, I'm thinking more like it's decorative, not functional. Like people who just have really lots of landscaping and stuff.
Yeah,
Wouldn't that be just as detrimental to mosquito? Wouldn't
Sure.
that breed a lot of mosquitoes
Absolutely.
as well?
That's like what that picture, that's why I'm saying that in the trees and the bushes, it is worthwhile to spray.
Okay.
How many calls do they have to get when people are calling in and complaining? How many calls do they have to get before they finally do something?
Well, in the July 3rd spraying, we had already set that up to do that, and we already had 300 and some calls. And what we used the calls to see whereabouts in the district that the problem is, but really, I don't know. The amount of calls doesn't necessarily dictate when we spray. What we're looking at is these trap counts. And just for example, the numbers, 300 to 400 is a trap count that's a nuisance level, which you want to begin to look at this. July 3rd, before that, we were down into 20s, 30s, and then 4 days later, we're up to 8,000. And so we figured, hey, we better be doing this because we know that it stopped raining and it's going to get hot. And this past Labor Day, we had no idea. We figured something was going to happen, but just didn't know it was going to be that bad.
Thank you.
Craig, what are the corporate boundaries of the mosquito abatement district? Does it include all of the city or more than just the city?
It's more than the city. To the north, it's about, I want to say, 3/4 of a mile past the bypass to the north. And to the west, there's a Harlem Creek Road over there. That's that boundary there. And to the south, it includes the airport, and it's about half mile at the most on that side. Over in this direction, it's probably about half mile from Titan Tire in this direction on Business 20. So it's a fairly large area. And we have maps of all their routes. They have GPS on there and GIS on their trucks. It takes about 4 trucks, 5 hours, or 5 trucks, 4 hours. And they usually start at night, right around 9. So anything you could help me out encouraging these types of getting rid of the moisture would be a big time help. It really is.
Another question, Trustee Cook?
You said,
I'm fine.
You sure? I'll answer it.
Yeah.
I'll try to.
Well, before Brewfest, I had read that there was going to be like special treatment of that area.
I
Is
was
that
asked.
accurate?
No, they called and asked me, and I said we were already going to do the entire district.
Yeah.
Because there's no real sense in doing just that Brewfest area.
That's
and
what I was
not the whole
wondering.
thing.
Seems-
Because it just wouldn't, you clear about the Brewfest area, give it 2 hours, 3 hours, all the area that's around that wasn't treated, all those mosquitoes would come in to Brewfest.
5 to 10 mile radius. And then with the treatments, are the places that you know to be like denser, do they get any extra, or is it like universal.
Well, I want to say it's closer to universal, but denser areas, meaning denser population or denser
No, like
with foliage?
Hancock. Or you said they didn't have as many, that count wasn't as high on Hancock, even though that's the area of concern.
Well, I should, that's relative. It isn't as high as Craig Park was, but when you're talking 4,000 versus 6,000,
Yeah.
there's not much difference. I mean, there is, but not that much difference. But when we're going around into the areas of foliage and that, they usually go a bit slower because they have governors put onto their trucks. And when they go greater than 15 miles an hour, the spray shuts off and an alarm goes off. And so they have to come back and repeat. And we try to hit, it's better to hit those foliage areas with larvicide because that lasts for 45 days.
That's probably something that needs to get out to the public because the complaints that I've had is they drive so fast that it doesn't do any good.
Oh, yeah, and I get a lot of those too.
Yeah.
I really do. If I was say, there's 3 streets, and if they do streets 1 and 3, and they don't go down street 2, that doesn't mean that they're not getting treated, because it goes 300, it's effective 300 to 400 feet either way. And they're not direct routes, because it might be that all of a sudden, okay, I finished this, I shut the spray off, I gotta turn around and go this direction, so they will go faster to get to where they have to go to next. Because there's just no way that if you're going 30, 35, that you're gonna have effectiveness. And they actually have put cameras on their trucks.
Really?
So when somebody asks me that question, I can look it up.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I'm glad, because that's a hard thing to not.
Thank you.
Thank
Oh,
you.
you're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Trustees, I invited Mr. Benton in to talk to you guys because maybe we can next year decide to do some helping of the mosquito abatement. I know he explained to me about the cost of, and I think he told me larviciding was very, very important. And if we could maybe help out with something like that, that could be good. I will be meeting with Lowell Crow here probably within the next week or week and a half. We're going to discuss how we can get these lawns and stuff and these abandoned properties cut next year prior to having this problem. So I discussed this with them before in the spring of this year. I'm going to discuss it with them now, so hopefully we'll have a plan in place by the time the grass starts growing and the mosquitoes have their fangs out. So, okay?
All right.
All righty. The next order of business is the assessor's report.
I don't have anything particular to the assessor's office, but somebody had asked a question about the Healthiest You app last time as far as being able to see if it's helpful. And I did have a staff that was able to utilize it. They called the number. Within 10 minutes, they got a response. They were able to get the medication her son needed and without going to the doctor. So it did work really well. She was very happy with it.
Oh, good.
I just wanted to pass that on.
All right. Is that all?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's
Next
it.
order of business is trustees report. Trustees.
I have nothing.
Okay, well, next order of business is public comments. Any public comments? Any other business coming for the town? And I will entertain a motion to adjourn until October 15th, 2018.
Second.
Motion by Sellers, second by Bender. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting adjourned.